do the announcement though, thing about December 24th, and then start with them. So do it first to these guys, but December 24th, the class, okay. And then you can start with them. Okay.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
Hello.
Thanks for joining me. And just a quick note, remember, this is kind of our test run for December 24th. I'm doing a half-lead primary and a little talk at, what time is that? It's 7 a.m. to 8:45 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So I'll be in Los Angeles. So I encourage you to join in on that. And otherwise, for today, we have a kind of Q&A with the class that I'm doing here in Albuquerque. So, a couple of questions that I got. One is, the person says, I've been struggling with shoulder alignment and flexibility. Shoulder alignment and shoulder flexibility. I'm not sure if it's simple muscle soreness or if it could be a bigger problem. So I've been doing a different chaturanga. Who is that? Oh, okay. Okay, well, so for one, we're kind of, it's an ongoing struggle, shoulder alignment, or the shoulder girdle, the upper body, in relation to your legs, your pelvis, and your spinal column. Okay, so that struggle is ongoing. It's something you're constantly negotiating, dialing in. Okay, so it's not something you graduate from. You're like, now I'm strong. I don't think about that anymore. Okay, and so, and what we do is we tend to forget the root of it all, the root of upper body strength in Ashtanga. And the root is plank. Understand the straight-armed position. Okay, and so, and the wording of Chaturanga Dandasana. So that Dandasana is very key. It means a staff or a rod. It's a very sturdy thingamajigger. And that's what you're working to get between your three main body masses. Okay, so your pelvis, your torso, and your head, to create a relationship of integrity between those parts. So listen, I'm speaking right to your thing. And so when there's a not integrity between your head, torso, and pelvis, that's when the alignment problems arise. Okay, and so in our zeal, we get so excited. And also, some ego enters into it. For some reason, we think that chaturanga is really cool, really desirable, and that plank is not. It's like nobody wants to do the straight arm thing. Everybody wants to bend and get down there, and often you don't pay enough attention to what's actually the relationship between the pelvis, torso, head as we do that. Okay, and so, and that Danda image is really key to it. You understand? And so you value plank, and you use plank, that straight arm position, to get this alignment that you're talking about. Neutral pelvis, neutral spinal column, and the head balancing. So it's like a samastitihi. So it's a vertical position first that you make horizontal when you do chaturanga. And often when you do postures where you bear weight on your arms, right? And so it's all in that study, Alyssa. And there's a few sources of knowledge, because you have to get kinesthetic awareness to be able to do it. Because at first you won't detect when your head is out of alignment, or when your ribs flare, or when your pelvis lifts. You can't really feel where you are in space and create that danda. So you can use mirror, look in the mirror. I'm saying you have to get very practical about it, because you can't just count on yourself to know. It won't work that way. Partly because it's a strength thing. You just don't have the strength. But partly it's an awareness thing, like that a long habit and just not really paying attention or valuing this danda idea. Then you won't be able to sense it. Okay, so video, take out your phone and take a video of yourself, or photographs. Okay, so that's one source. Is you don't need a teacher, you don't need anything, you just use your own devices. And then the second is teacher, so somebody can see and correct you. Okay, and that's a very important source. And then the third is using in the moment, your own resources, like looking at your body. So we get really caught up in the drishti, thinking that like we can't look at what we're doing. And so it's you can see, you tuck your chin and kind of look, what's going on? and use your other senses. Kind of hone in, really get the perceptual accuracy of like, what is going on here? And then you'll kind of slowly get that kinesthetic awareness. And you can also use props for that. I do this thing where from plank, you lower in stages. So you make 3 stages. And everyone should do this, even if you can do a nice chaturanga, because they're all kind of have their own challenge. So the first stage is from plank, you bend only 1 inch, just the littlest tiny move, and you keep that integrity between your head, torso, pelvis. And you practice that move again and again. And then you have a medium station. So you go a little lower, 2 or 3 inches, but not all the way to chaturanga. Okay, and then the last is the actual, whatever you want to call it, this kind of end point. But you lose the idea that one of those is more desirable than the other. Okay, so that they're all equally desirable, because what you're looking for is this danda. That's what's really desirable. And through that study, you transfer that work that you're doing with plank to other postures. You could do it in any posture, actually. What is the relationship between my pelvis, torso, head, and then my arms coming out of that in whatever I'm doing? And then you can trust. You can know whether now my muscles are sore because I've worked well with alignment, or no, I'm actually working wrong and I'm compromising my shoulders by a faulty position. Okay? and what we're talking about, you see, we can get caught in thinking that we're doing something really grand. We're doing yoga. It's a very elevated thing, consciousness. It's a spiritual thing. And it is. But you get at that by the lowliest things, the most simple tasks, like making your body into a danda and getting really absorbed in that. And that's it. It's the smallest little tasks that we're working on, and we don't graduate from those. That's just that's what we're working on when we do get on the mat. And but what's interesting is a consciousness does emerge from that, from paying attention to those lowly tasks, a grounding in a spiritual perspective that's quite extraordinary. And so you get there very slowly, and with these practical projects that you work on. Okay, and so what I just said is related to what this next person's question, which is to say, they say, I came to this practice in my early 40s, and I love the practice and gaining more strength. See, so they go back to that strength theme, and it's a real theme for everyone. This strength. Okay, and then it says, due to my age, do you recommend utilizing other strength training methods kind of beside Ashtanga or outside of Ashtanga? And then if that's not feasible, I'm wondering if I will never be able to move past first series. Is it wise to just stay in the first series for years on end? Confined to the lower worlds. Love that. So the thing is that the strength training, in a way, you could say that like this plank work that I'm talking to you about, it's borrowed from other sources. It's borrowed from physical therapy. It's borrowed from, like when you look in Google for the 100 exercises, best exercises for strengthening using only your body weight, so not using machines or weights. There's a list of 100 best. More than 50 of them are variations of plank. Okay, so, but see what happens to us is we get caught in chaturanga. You think that chaturanga is the only thing that we need to focus on. And in that way we like rob ourselves of like the best strengthening possibilities that exist within the Ashtanga itself. And it's challenging because we can operate under the mentality that the best method of gaining strength is to just do your best to do chaturanga every time. But that isn't the best way because of this simple fact that this simple fact is so important for people that do a daily practice where you repeat, which is repeating the wrong thing does not lead to doing the right thing. But we try that. So we think that just by trying our best to do that chaturanga every time, that's going to lead to doing it right eventually. But it doesn't. You see, and that's why you have to go back to the root and reinforce what you want to do. And this danda image gives you the ability to do that. Okay, so if you work according to that, then you don't need to go outside of Ashtanga for more strength training. It's got strength training galore. But you have to be smart and extract the strength training from it. And it's funny because it's got a spiritual dimension to it, we tend to like devalue the physical aspect of it, or think that caring about that or really going into that is somehow not relevant, or I don't know, or just that those two don't match, but they do. They can. Okay, and so you don't need to, but you do need to be smart. You don't need to go for a separate strength training. but you need to be smart about how you approach strength training in Ashtanga. And and it's a very interesting proposition to come to it in like your early 40s. Very different than if you come to it in your early 20s. Okay, so that the strength work that you're going to do, it's going to involve kind of more deliberate strategy and more modification in terms of like the lift up when you're going to jump back, that jump back move, the crouch and spring jumping through, all those kind of areas that target strength in Ashtanga. You have to strategize those. And you go here with Joanna? Yeah, see, so you've got a good source for understanding how to do that, because it's not a knowledge that everyone is transmitting, and because you have to get kind of creative with it, and it's different than just trying your best to do it. Like, that's not the best way to go about it. Okay, and so then let's back up with this idea of different series. Okay, two is that, so this idea of the danda as your kind of basis for strengthening, it's really the basis for the whole practice. Okay, so I have 5 allies, 5 asana allies that you work with very clearly in developing your practice. Okay, and those are, one is the foundation. Okay, so, and that starts with that you acknowledge the ground. Like, you are constantly in touch with the earth, but and see, and it's true with all of these allies. They're the most lowly, basic things, but they're the things that we forget to pay attention to, that we've overlooked in thinking, prioritizing other things. But now we have to come back inside our body and pay attention to these very lowly, basic things, like me in this moment and my relationship to the ground. Whoa. I mean, that's it. It's just, I'm a being, and there's the ground. And what's happening there? How do I connect with this earth? Okay, and so the foundation of your posture, and there's a certain weightedness that you and a organization of your parts, so that you so they support your position. And in almost every case, your foundation consists of your legs and arms supporting your spinal position. Your legs and arms supporting your spine. Okay? And so you're in this constant negotiation of that. And then the second ally is the danda, the central axis. Okay? And so that's what you're attending to. Okay, in every posture, from Surya Namaskara, you start in Samasthiti, which it could be called Dandasana, the staff pose. Okay, you're working that vertical line, and then you go through those 9 positions, and you're working with the foundation, this axis. Okay, then the third ally is the it's the senses. Okay, so you're trying to gain a perceptual accuracy. Okay, so remember this. We're still in the question about, am I stuck doing first series forever? Okay, and I'm answering that question. Okay, and the simple answer is no, you're not. But so really, because there's only one posture. You got to know that. There's only one posture you're doing, and I'm describing it. Okay, so there's all these variety of asanas, but they're all related to that one posture. And you learn to how to use that one posture to make excursions into these other postures, and to see how these other postures are related to that one posture. Okay? And when you get that knowledge, when you see how triangle pose is related to Samastitihi, or Parsvakonasana, or any of them, Marichyasana B, Kurmasana, they're all related to that one posture. And you have the skill and the knowledge to use these allies to relate them. Then it doesn't matter what posture you do. You can do any posture. So you're not stuck with any series. Okay? So it's not. But let's back up to these allies. And they're all okay, and with like practical sensing, like seeing your lines and what is actually happening, and listening. Somewhat they're in order. Okay, these allies, meaning that the easiest is the foundation. Like, where am I in space? Then the second is the danda. What's my relationship to my pelvis, my spine, and my head? Like, I can figure that out. Then comes the senses. Can I track? Can I actually really use these things to single position? And then the breathing, it's hard. In and out in every 24 hours. So it's a constant thing happening that we almost never notice. Okay, and so slowly through all the repetition and the transitions, we bring the breath out. We make it so that we can actually follow the breath and breathe better, more fully, and direct energy through breathing. And it has danda. So we learn to hone in on that axis through breathing. And then the last ally is the bandhas, which are found at the ends of the axis at the end of the breath. And those are even more subtle than the breath, because you have to be able to breathe out fully and breathe in completely, and stay conscious all the way through that breath to find those bandhas at the end of the axis. Okay, and so at first, you've the primary series, there's what, 75, 80 postures? That's plenty to like get some skill in making those allies come to life. And an ally is a purposeful word. It's like you have to woo them. You have to devote energy to them. You pay attention to them in order to get them to help you. They're helpers. So that focusing on your foundation is a helper. Focusing on the danda is a helper, etc. Using your senses well to internalize your awareness on the danda, that's a helper. Breathing is a helper. Bandhas are a helper. Okay, so you earn those. So you're not in any hurry to go to another series because you got so much nice work to do. But we're humans, right? Day after day, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. Right? Yeah, so it's natural. And then what? So second series. Woo. I'll never get to do it because I can't stand up from a drop. In your 40s, when you've practiced for a long time, there's so many different circumstances that we're all coming with. And we have a system to serve us, not to shackle us and to confine us and make limits that don't fit us. Okay, so eventually there's so many nice postures in second series that you can do. But you don't want to move on to those until you've got this grounding in those allies and you've got some skill. So that you're strung out, how will you get skill? How will you actually really hone in on like the root of plank and see its relationship to Paschimottanasana and these amazing postures that are in first series? Okay, and so, but never think that like you're stuck there and like that. No way. So, there you go. Okay, then Rachel, Joy's mom, she's here. And she's like a plant. She asked me, she's like, I don't understand this lengthening the spine thing. You keep talking about it, lengthening the spine. And yes, that's right. Just like you don't understand the earth, the foundation. So it's such a strange thing to be given these miracle. Our bodies are miracles, literally. What this technology is positively miraculous. And it is not random. It's a highly organized thingamajigger that's meant to do certain things and function certain ways. But basically, we're all asleep to those, especially the most elemental ones, the most sacred, the most like breathing, like standing in a good relationship to the ground. And it's not entirely our fault. Our whole life we've been trained not to pay attention to these things. We're told to value all these other things when we go to school, not these things, not your body and what it does and what it's meant to do. And so one thing you got to know is that so the universe is made of material, and that material is constantly changing, and its change isn't random. It's patterned, so it's constantly cycling through conception, creation, living, dying. So it's a cyclical thing that happens to all material, and the way that it manifests is in spirals. So the universe is circling out constantly, and our bodies are part of the universe. But we tend to not think of that. We think of us as separate. Like the world is out there doing its thing, and then here we are, these little egos in here against that. It's as much part of it as the trees and the waters and the mountains and the stars. It's all the one continuous thing flowing out. Okay, and these spiral expressions we just naturally love and gravitate towards. Like, that's why when you look at, we love, like if you watch cloud formations or waves in the ocean or the way that water falls and how it splashes into bodies of water and the snakes, the way they move and that's what we're meant to. But we forget because we get totally in our head. And we get so systematic, so rational and logical and literal. And then we forget. We forget how to be in the body and how to move and how to express its it's four curves. And it goes dormant. Just like it's a you're not alone. And it's a very honest admission. They talk about kundalini. Okay, it means coil. It's the energy that drives the manifestation. So it's said it's dormant. That kundalini is sleeping, that energy at the base of the pelvis. Okay, so yoga practices wake up that kundalini. Okay, and so there's a dormancy, and lengthening your spine or waking up your spine is part of waking up that energy. And when you do, you see that it's like your spine wants to move. It's just sleeping. It wants to know space, wants to explore, wants to probe out into space through the postures. And you just discover that through vinyasa, such a beautiful system. What it'll do when you actually like just shine the light of on it. Very spontaneous thing starts to happen. It's a very deep thing too, Rachel. It's partly why it's confusing. Because like, because think if this very central part of us attention and experiment. Okay, what time is it? And I may regret it. So she's saying that what's the relationship between ahimsa and veganism? Ah! Ahimsa is non-harming, right? Non-violence, and then this vegetarianism, and she was also saying that you know, in a way, she was that ahimsa has many branches, many, and now the world is fraught with extremes of imbalance. Okay, so that himsa, harm, and violence, and creating suffering is happening on so many fronts. Culturally, so many ways, right? So many ways. There's so much pollution and corruption and so many different it's hard to cover all the fronts in one person. We're all struggling, okay, and we all have our particular ways of contributing and alleviating the suffering, or at least not making it worse, right? And so there's very few of us that are in a position to actually judge others in terms of their that relationship that they're negotiating within themselves, right? So to see that we may be an amazing vegan, if whatever's important to you, that you become an advocate of that in a certain positive way, not in a negative way. Eating is causing more suffering than not meat eating. But you've got to be careful in okay. We're weak. Not one of us that's a saint here. And so we can't. So you and if you don't go blaming and fighting and no, you go at it in a different way then, and be satisfied easily.